nearly impossible to tell apart the male from the female, and they all hovered over each other in whispers and glares. But it was more than just a lacking in physical appearance. It was a hollowness behind the eyes.
Hi Shanice, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good too. So how have you been finding the day so far?
The day's been nice, the weather's great, we got some leaves.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, and how was the performance? Well, your reading. You said it wasn't.
I'm so glad for that little clarification, because there's always a whole lot of, I'm definitely not a performer.
Yeah.
I do like to read though.
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was I was reading. Usually when I do these readings, it's because of the Pride of Noonlay.
Yeah.
So that's what I end up reading. But I decided I've been writing. I'm working on a novel, so I decided I'm going to read a bit from that.
Okay, cool.
For no other reason, just to see where I'm at with it.
Yeah. And you said the title is A Harvest of Diabolics.
So that part of it. So it's divided into several parts, but that part of it is called A Harvest of the Diabolics.
Oh, cool. And I actually read online that you are actually working on something and it will be entitled Peace. So is that where it's from?
Yeah, so Peace is the overall, it's the working title.
Okay, cool.
It's the name of the world.
Oh,
but so A Harvest of the Diabolics is an aspect of it.
Oh, okay, cool. That's nice. So just want to get to know you a bit. So who is Shanice Ndlovu?
A very large question, isn't it?
It's very broad, so you can literally answer it in any way.
I suppose as a writer,
Yeah.
if there's anything that I have clarity on as to the sort of person that I am, and one thing that is clear and set is the sort of writer that I am, the type of writer that I am, the things that I do write. And I write epic fantasy. I'm an epic fantasy writer. I took some winding roads to get here. I went and studied a bunch of things, but this is where I started and it's where I ended up. So Shanice is a writer of epic fantasy.
Epic fantasy. So what are some of the things that you encountered in your winding roads?
Well, I went and did a whole law degree.
Okay.
But so I studied that. I did think I was going to be a lawyer for a while. Got the degree, even went and applied for the masters, and then decided I've already wasted like 4 years of my life. So I'm going to leave that. But so I did that for a while, and then but I did end up home.
I mean, what was the point at which you realized that I want to be a writer?
No, it's something that I've always known, right? I just had, there are some people that are able to do multiple things at once, that are able to do a bunch of things, they're able to be painters and doctors and all these things all at once. I was under the illusion at the time that I was one of those people. I did learn though that I was born for this alone. So it was I was made sorry for one thing.
Yes.
There's that thing, what is it a quote where they say being something is for insects, specializing is for insects, you should be multiple and all those things. I am very much an insect in that regard. I just write, that's all I am, that's all I have.
So what kind of advice would you have for other people who want to be insects, I guess? Because a lot of people do believe that you should do a lot of things.
I don't know if it's a question of wanting or a question of choice. It's what's inherent in you. There's some people that are called to multiple parts. And then there's some of us, that are called to a single one.
So it's all about being aware.
It's all about trying to find out. And you will obviously deviate here and there, you will falter, you will. It's just a question of being able to tell when it's brought to you that this is where I needed to be.
This is where I'm supposed to be. Okay, so moving on to the Pride of Noonlay, the cover. It's a very interesting cover. So maybe can you tell us about the meaning behind the cover?
So the cover was actually a situation. It was, so I was published by Modjadji Books, and they are a very feminist enterprise, shout out to them. And they have their own set of people that design covers. And we got like a few cover samples, but I had an idea of my head of a people in the seasons and they look like that. The people. Okay, so the seasons is like a continent, right?
Okay.
So everyone in this continent has an aspect of them that makes them special, something.
Yeah.
And so the cover depicts the people of Aiyan. They call them the wind talkers of Aiyan. So you know them by their blonde hair and their yellow eyes and their very dark skin. And so those are the people that
The warriors.
the warriors are the people of Malayan. But yeah,
Okay.
so those are still part of the people from the seasons. But I had an idea that's just like of a depiction of, if not the people of Aiyan, just an aspect of those people in the seasons, because that was an island that I discovered later than all the other places in the world, and it's definitely my favorite one. But so it was a bit of we went a bit back and forth for a while, just trying to find the right idea and and I met a lady who was able to assist me with the cover, and it was brilliant. I loved it.
Cool. So how much of yourself do you actually put in your work? What's your inspiration?
Right, a lot of this, with a lot of these questions and a lot of this understanding of it is as something, I suppose it is for some people though, something that is intentional. Very much a choice, and it is, again, for some people it is very structured, this is what I'm going to do here, this is what I'm going to. But a lot of this for me, so there are two types of writers, right? They are the architects, the people that build before they build on paper, before they actually start building. They draw up the house and then they go and build the house, right? And then there is the gardeners, the people that walk into their gardens. They're not even wearing gloves half the time. They just like prying into the dirt and see what they find. I'm a gardener. So very much a lot of this is not intentional. Right, I do trust very much that when it needs to come, it will come, and it does. And I just dig and I see what I find. But because I'm a human being, I'm a human being. In that process, I am gonna bleed into the dirt, and there will be aspects of me left behind. So it's not intentional, but I am aware of the fact that it does happen.
Don't you ever fear that there's too much of yourself bleeding into your work, that it would kind of like expose you?
Expose me.
Like the vulnerable parts of yourself.
I'm not afraid of being sentimental. I'm an artist. That I'm not afraid of it. But that being said, there will be a point where there's too much of anything, whether it's yourself or your world or any of those things, and that's why we edit, isn't it?
Just as a closing question, what are some of the tips that you can share with aspiring writers?
So there's a thing. It's a literature house. It's called Death in the Afternoon. I started with Benita Andre. She's a poet, and so basically we used to run these workshops, and she taught performance, I taught writing. This was pre-COVID, it was a lot of fun. But the first thing that I always said in these workshops, is in the writing workshops, to the students, was the first thing that you need to do is to make a decision, right? You need to decide, first of all, you've decided that you're a writer, right? Okay, now you need to decide what kind of writer you are, what it is that you want to write, what it is that you are going to write, and then you need to decide what it is that you're willing to give up for it. So a lot of it, at the beginning, from the start and throughout to wherever it goes, is deciding. You have to decide as you go, and that's the part of you that is conscious. And I'm not a very organized person. Like I said, I'm the gardener. I don't like to think about things that far. But that's one part that you have to make sure that you've thought through. Are you a poet? Are you a fiction writer? That doesn't mean that it can't change along the way. It also doesn't mean that you're only that, but it has to be a decision that you make. I am a poet and a fiction writer. All of it has to be intentional.
I think I love the part where you said that it doesn't have to be all linear and straightforward.
No,
it will change along the way.
It will definitely change. It will. I started off writing historical fiction. I wrote historical fiction for the longest time, and along the way, then I discovered, fantasy and historical fiction and blood sisters. You know, it's just that the other one is more free. It's the fantasy is the blood sister that ran away from home. But yeah, so it will definitely change. That one is guaranteed. But all of it needs to be intentional.
Yes, thank you for that. That was very interesting. Cool. That was the end of our interview.
Oh yeah. Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
So that was why I played along with her lies, because I was curious, and certainly not because of the clammy hot in that room that was driving me half mad, as was her bony knee that was nudging my thigh and beckoning me closer. It was certainly not for the glazed glint covering her red eyes or the scent of pure heat that poured from her breath as she whispered, "You can wait for him here with me." What can I say? I never claimed to be strong. I'm an utter slave to my passions, so I obviously said yes, I would wait with her. Then I reached for her thigh and she said I ought to be careful or I might burn myself. And I laughed before I told her that whatever the fire knows how to do, it learned from me.